What's up, everybody? Jackson Galaxy, your cat daddy here. If you missed the September 2020 Cat Camp, you missed a great Ask Me Anything between me and Hannah Shaw, and moderated by our good friend Chris Gutierrez, who runs Catcade, a wonderful cat cafe in Chicago. Check it out if you can, if you're in town. In the meantime, when you cut me and Hannah loose, it's sometimes chaotic, sometimes a little crazy, and always a lot of fun. So check it out. Chris had his hands full the other day. I hope you like it. Let us know in the comments if you liked it as well and what you'd like to see in the next cat camp. All right, light, love, and mojo to you. Have fun with this one.
Well, hello. I'm Christopher Gutierrez. I'm the co-founder and director of the Catcade Rescue and Cat Cafe that I run with my partner Shelly in Chicago, and I will be hosting this AMA between the illustrious Jackson Galaxy and my wonderful friend Hannah Kitten Lady Shaw. If you are unfamiliar with Hannah Shaw, I'm going to give you a quick introduction. She needs no introduction, but let me read off this extremely long piece of paper here. She's a cat rescuer and one of the loudest voices in animal advocacy, with over 1 million followers on Instagram and on YouTube both. She's a TNR expert, the authority on neonatal kitten care, the founder of her nonprofit, the Orphan Kitten Club, and a New York Times best-selling author. And she's also my friend. Also, along with our little talkie talk is going to be Jackson Galaxy.
Hey guys, well, now we see the real deal behind the live business here. I'm sitting here going, am I? Is it all right? Am I good? Am I good?
Me too.
So, it's, you know what, and to everybody out there, we've been monitoring. We've had little ups and downs and everything today, but you know, it is what it is. Chris, thanks for being here with us.
Oh, thank you for having me and trusting me with this.
You know, better you than me. I'm trusting you. Just, can you trust me, or can you trust Hannah?
I am super excited to be here, and I do have kittens at my feet right here. So if you see me looking down, it's because I'm looking at these lovely little ones. This is Kalu, one of my foster kittens. So you'll see kittens popping in and out throughout this session.
You're just flaunting. You're just flaunting the kittens. That's just great.
You know, I'm surrounded.
Ay, too gorgeous.
So, Jackson, I believe there's a video about the litter genie that you would like to show us.
Yeah, well, first of all, I absolutely want to thank Litter Genie for being a part of Cat Camp as they've been in the past, and for donating a bunch of Litter Genies to the prize packages today. But yeah, let's show a quick video about Litter Genie. We'll be back on the other side. There we go. Like I said, it was quick.
So, quick question for you. How many litter genies do you have?
Yeah. Well, let's put it this way. Litter Genie wise, I have a Litter Genie for every litter box. We have 7 cats, so we have 7 litter boxes. So we have 7 Litter Genies. You guys do the math. And they come in the different sizes. So we have them mixed up around the house, the regular, the XL. But honestly, I can't even remember what it was like to have to walk around with the litter and bring it to wherever, garbage cans or whatever. Hannah, you got to have as many as I do.
I'm like I'm literally sitting next to one right now. I have a Litter Genie in every room that there's a litter box. So like right now I'm in my kitten room. I have 2 litter boxes in here. I have 1 Litter Genie. In the other kitten room, yes, I have a bunch of kitten rooms in my house. My other kitten room, I have an XL Litter Genie next to litter boxes. But I was just thinking about this. I think I have 10 litter boxes in my house. We got a lot of litter going on, so that means a lot of scooping.
Awesome. Well, so listen, we got over 2,000 questions that people wanted to ask you. So obviously we're not going to be able to get to all of them. But before we begin and jump in, I want to throw out a handful of rapid fire questions that you answer just as quickly as possible. You don't know what these questions are, but I thought of them in my brain.
Oh boy.
Wow.
Don't worry, don't worry.
Oh no.
They're just questions that like I actually started thinking about, and I was like, I want to know about you. So what's your favorite animated movie? And I want to go with Jackson first.
My favorite animated movie is, you know, I can only go, oh God, I don't freaking know. You know, it's really funny. I was a huge fan of Ralph Bashki back in the day, and okay, whatever, you guys. It was when animation was like flip cards, but I loved all of his movies, and I think just animation wise, I don't know, man. I like the last one I watched was Django. So anyway, whatever. Ralph
Okay.
Bashki rules.
Hannah.
My favorite is definitely Alice in Wonderland. It's like my sad day movie. If I'm feeling sad, I put on Alice in Wonderland. It was my favorite as a kid. And it just so happens that all of my kittens that are in this room right now are actually named after like a poem from the book. So I love Alice in Wonderland.
Well, that's adorable because you kind of look like a Disney princess right now. So
Oh, well,
to
thanks.
that point, what I'm going to start with Hannah again. Where's your favorite place to relax?
The bath.
That I do know. That I do know. Jackson.
I gotta echo that. I gotta be honest. Like it's one of the joys of traveling around the world is like, how many bathtubs can I find? I'm a bathtub guy as well. And the funny thing is, we don't really have one in my house. Like for me, well, you know, I'm not Hannah size. I'm Jackson size. So it's a challenge. But always like, yeah, the water was always the most relaxing place for me.
Baths are underrated, but Jackson, to you again, what's your favorite topping on pizza?
Favorite topping on pizza would be, well, at the moment, see, the fun thing is like those impossible meatballs that you can get on top of pizza.
I haven't had them yet.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's rocking.
Hannah?
Well, I would say olives just to make you grumpy, Chris, because I know you hate that. But I'm going to go with sun-dried tomatoes. Classic.
Okay. Donuts or pizza? Jackson, go.
Pizza. Hands down.
Pizza.
I'm a New Yorker, man. I'm a New Yorker.
Okay, well then that goes to our next question, which is East Coast weather or West Coast weather? Jackson.
That's a tough one, man, because honestly, I live on the West Coast now. I love the sunshine and everything, but I really miss seasons, so I'll take East Coast.
Hannah?
East Coast heart, West Coast weather.
I knew this was going to be a very divisive question because you spent time on both coasts.
No, I'm West Coast weather all the way. That's why I'm here, but I'll always be an East Coast girl at heart.
See, that's the thing is I've got like 10 years on you on the West Coast. So at this point, it's like you think about autumn, and autumn in New York is just no matter what you do, man.
I don't think about autumn. I think about endless summer.
All right. What's your favorite place that you've traveled internationally? Hannah.
Is this, oh gosh, probably Thailand. And I have to say the attitude towards cats there is so like beautiful and eye-opening, and people are so compassionate there. And I loved visiting Thailand.
Jackson?
It's a toss-up for me. I think my time in New Zealand was just amazing. And the people there were just, I'd never met a grumpy person in New Zealand. And plus, I think they have the highest per capita cat guardianship in the world. They're over 50% of people in New Zealand have cats. So that's the one thing. But I got to say, in terms of just like being in awe, I got a chance to go to the Galapagos Islands a few years ago. And that's just the amount of reverence towards animal life in one place I've never experienced before. And it's an amazing experience.
Awesome. Okay. Hannah, what's more stressful, LA traffic or ringworm?
Well, I am really not into traffic. This is a hard question. I would say traffic because ringworm I'm good for. Like I'm happy to deal with. I'm not happy to deal with traffic, but it is stressful. I have a ringworm kitten right now, and the most stressful thing about it is not the doing the treatment. It's just how much I want him to be able to have friends. I just want him to like have buddies, and he's in quarantine and can't. So it's a toss up. But I would say I would rather deal with ringworm than traffic.
Jackson, LA traffic or ringworm?
You know what's really funny though is because I'm sure you deal with a bunch of ringworm that like it becomes this thing. Okay, I deal with it all the time, so I'm cool to a certain degree. And I deal with LA traffic all the time, so I'm cool with it to a certain degree. Ringworm makes me flop sweat. Like the idea of ringworm. You know, I've gotten ringworm, I think, myself like 3 times, and
Wow.
and I just no.
All right. So one of the first questions that someone asked and that I was actually really curious about, because I don't know, is how did you two meet?
Jackson, do you remember?
Jackson,
I remember the very first time. Do you?
It was
Do you
out of
remember
Best Friends.
Oh, you do remember.
We were in like this. It sounds very magical when you put it this way. It was like a marble pink castle house. Remember that? It was like this amazing house, and it was this fundraiser for Best Friends Animal Society. And we had a mutual friend, and we met there. And I think we escaped into an interesting little side room, and we just talk, and then we never stopped talking since.
And honestly, and it's funny because people don't really know this much about. I mean, I'm not if I don't have a job to do socially, like at parties and whatever, I'm not good. And Hannah was like my savior, like just sort of took me through. We disappeared. It was all good. Made an appearance, fundraised. Everything was cool, and left. So yeah, Hannah saved my life.
Oh no, that was fun. I mean, I think Jackson and I are both we're both extroverts who also like sometimes get a little bit overwhelmed maybe by crowds, and we had a great conversation, and then just kept working together after that. A lot of people saw in 2016 we did this big road trip also involving Best Friends where we had like 50 kittens in a van, and we drove like 25 hours together. I would say that's when we became really good friends, because you can't go through a 25-hour kitten poop road trip without getting close, right?
No, and again, I'll just say there's always things about Hannah that impress me, but on that road trip, because we had to drive through, we went from California, we hit Utah at some point. At that point, and both of us being vegan, it was just, at that point, we basically had like candy and stuff in the middle of the van, but in terms of eating, forget about it. There was no place to eat. And Hannah knew how to pull into like some, I don't remember what kind of a restaurant it was, and
Denny's.
make us some, it was a Denny's, and make them make us something. It was horrible, but you made it happen, and that was important.
You know what's funny is that I remember watching that before I knew either one of you. And I kept thinking, oh, they must have the stage where they put them in a car and they drive like 15 minutes and get like the foot they need and then a little B-roll. And then they hop in like whatever, I don't know, whatever other car, and then they move on to the next thing. So.
No, I can tell you, Jackson, like when I'd be driving Jackson, we'd either like be talking or you'd have headphones on and be trying to like get some shut eye in the car, you know, in your seat in the car. That's how road trips, that's how it goes. We drove overnight. We saw the sunset. We saw the sunrise. Jackson tried to put water in the tire, and they actually aired that on Animal Planet. No, they aired it on Animal Planet.
Yeah, like, oh, it was one of those things where it was like, it was late at freaking night, and there was an air hose and a water hose, and they looked alike, man. I was tired, no shame. Dude.
No shame.
But let me just say,
I would have done the same thing probably.
You posted a picture. I think you posted a picture a couple days ago of the two of us. It was like the sun was coming up at that point. We were at a truck stop, fully, absolutely that driving all night like you can't even see straight thing, and buying little animal furry hats and playing computer bingo. It was great.
It
It was great. So yeah, Chris, we did the drive. We dealt with kitten poop, put water in tires, and every
saved them
stinking one
lives.
of them got home. So that
And
was
I
cool.
think it was that trip where I mentioned that there was this idea of like doing some kind of event thing that then became you and Christina meeting, right?
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
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 You're right.
Full circle, full circle.
Yeah. And here we all are.
It was an eventful event. Yeah.
So I'm going to move on to a couple more questions that are a little bit more serious. I'm going to direct this one at Hannah first, and then Jackson, I'd like to hear from you as well. But what are the highest impact activities for those with little time to foster or volunteer?
Sure. So I think a lot of people see, the work that I do or that Jackson does, and they're like, well, I don't have the time to do all of that. And that's okay. If you don't have time to foster or volunteer, there's a lot of other things that you can do. The quickest one that comes to mind for me is every person has a different network, your friend network, your colleagues. So use your network to spread the word about adoptable cats, because, the people I can reach, you reach somebody different than I do. So follow local shelters and rescue organizations when you see them seeking homes for cats. Just share those with your network, click share, or even send it out to your coworkers. Hey, I saw this cat. Anybody looking for a cat? That can make a big difference. Another easy one is Facebook fundraisers. Facebook fundraisers can do a lot just by using your network of friends and family to, direct some good towards an organization. A big one my nonprofit always needs help with is transport. So even if you just have an hour or 2 hours to give towards, maybe for us, it's like picking up a kitten and taking them to a vet, that can make a world of difference for us. Or going to the shelter and picking up a cat who needs rescue. Transport is a really big way to help. The last thing I would say is just use whatever skill and lifestyle you already have to help cats. So if you're crafty, make crafts for cats. If you're an accountant, I guarantee you there's a local nonprofit who would love your services. You know what I mean? So, use the skills that you have to help in whatever way you can. There's so many different ways to help.
Awesome. I completely agree with everything that you just said. Sign me up for your newsletter. Jackson, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, all I would say is, and I think this is something that we can all look at right now, what in the state of what has become rescue over the past, 6-7 months now, which is that a lot of people got involved because all of a sudden they found themselves being asked in a big way to foster, for instance, and we had a little bit of time. And I think so many of those new foster parents found out how it wasn't, they didn't have to give over their entire lives in order to do something and to save a life and to help out the shelters who were just in so much trouble. So that's one thing. And I think that what's really important is, I'm guilty of it. I think everyone to a certain degree is, where you think of, well, I'd like to do this. And then you think of the biggest possible impact that you could have in the whole wide world and how you would have to give over your whole life to it. And just to remember that you don't, like Hannah was just saying about transport, that's such it's kind of a gimme. A lot of TNR trappers would just give their left foot for someone who would just take their cats to their spay appointments and back again. There are small things that everyone can do. And I think that if you ask anyone who's done a small thing, they'll say that small thing resulted in a big thing.
I agree. You mentioned something about the last 6 months. The world has been completely changed over the last 6 months. Which leads me to another question, Jackson, actually. What have you learned most about yourself in the last 6 months?
Well, I mean, I definitely learned patience in a way that I don't think I had before. Or if I did, I wasn't constantly working on it. I'm somebody who doesn't sit still very well at all. Mm-hmm. And I just need to be working, moving, traveling, whatever it is. And I think just being grounded led me to grounding myself. And I learned a lot about, I learned a lot about my sometimes moves towards perfectionism and how I need to focus on the little things. You know, I've got 7 cats and 3 dogs. We started a life with chickens during the pandemic, and they all need something individually from both me and my wife at a certain point in the day, and giving that to them and slowing down and basically following my own advice, I think, has been a big one.
And Hannah, what do you think that you've learned over the last 6 months?
Yeah, this has been a challenging time because, like Jackson, I'm usually like, let's go, let's do stuff. And I think what's happened for me is I've really doubled down on the impact I can make in my own community rather than, you know, a lot of the work that I usually do is out in, you know, different parts of the country, different parts of the world. And this has been actually a pretty welcome opportunity, I think, for me to be more like on the streets where I live, in the neighborhoods, trapping cats, in my home, you know, seeing from day one of a baby's life to 8 weeks when they get adopted. I think that I've really doubled down on making, you know, the impact hands-on that I can make. I always try to do, like, you know, Jackson was saying, like the biggest thing that I can be doing. And I do have a lot going on of, you know, upcoming projects that I'm excited about. But I think during this time, it's been a time of kind of like looking at what can I do hands-on right now, you know, like what can I do to raise this little baby and make sure he goes to a good place. And that's given me a real sense of purpose during this time. I think that when the world feels out of control, it's good to focus on something that you can make right. You know, I can't make everything in the world right, but I can. But for this little baby who came to me covered in fleas and fly eggs as a 1-day-old, I can make that right. You know, this is something I can make right. And that feels really positive for me.
Okay, and that leads us to like kind of the next question, which I'll pose to you, Hannah, again, which is what's the best way for children to get involved in animal rescue, especially during the pandemic?
You know, kids are so naturally compassionate, and I get a lot of kids reaching out to me saying, you know, how can I help? You know, my mom doesn't want me to foster. And again, it's like fostering is not the only way to help. There are a lot of things that kids can do. You don't have to wait until you're an adult and go to vet school. You know, I know a lot of kids think, well, I'll be a vet someday, but you can, even if you're 6 years old, you can do something right now. A couple ideas. One is if you have a school project, you can do a school project on cat welfare. You know, if there's an opportunity to interview somebody, maybe interview somebody from your local shelter or rescue group. You know, if you have to choose a topic, see if there's ways that you can educate even your teacher and of course your fellow students on cats. You can ask your teacher or librarian to read, you know, a book that is about cat welfare. I do have a book for kids called Kitten Lady's Big Book of Little Kittens. Make sure that your library has that so that they can be teaching other young people. Another thing that you could do is, you know, if you have a skill for making something, I know a kid who makes like buttons, you know, buttons that you wear, and he sells them and donates the proceeds to his local shelter. It's just like a old-fashioned lemonade stand, but catified. So a lot of things you can do. And of course, if your parents are open to fostering, definitely there's things kids can do within that. You can be, you know, socializing the kittens, you could be opening those cans of cat food, and there's a lot of things that you can do.
Jackson, do you have anything to add?
Hannah nailed almost everything I would have said. I think that one thing that maybe kids need to remember is that when it comes to just a lot of times just that compassionate, animal-centric way of life, you guys have a lot to teach your parents. You know, a lot of times your parents have locked themselves into just a way of thinking, and you can help open their eyes, your family's eyes, and your friends as well. And it doesn't take much. It's just learning more about the cats in your community. And as Hannah said, I mean, just little things that you can start with, and just, it goes a long way. I mean, I've known so many kids who have taught their parents about sheltering, about the cats that need homes in their area. And of course, you know, as a parent, you're like, no, I don't want a cat. I don't want to. I don't want two cats. I don't want a litter of cats. But there's a lot. There's a lot that kids can teach their parents.
Okay. So this is a great question. It's from Katie O'Brien, which I think does a really kind of apply to both of you equally, and just maybe in like different aspects. But I'm going to start with Hannah. Do you feel that bottle-raised kittens have a higher risk for behavioral problems later in life, since they don't get that mama cat training? Is there any way to mimic that to prevent issues?
Yeah, this is a really common question when I do my bottle baby workshops. People are like, oh, how do you deal with like, the bottle baby kitten syndrome? And I really reject that idea, and I'll tell you why. I do think that there's absolutely opportunity for kittens who are bottle raised to have behavioral problems, but I think that the most important thing there is the husbandry. If you are taking care of that kitten and meeting all of their developmental needs, then the kitten is given an opportunity, just like if they had a feline mama. There are some important differences, of course, but the thing that I would say is the bigger issue is singleton kittens. So kittens who are not raised with any other cats at all. If I have an orphan and they're solo, the most important thing is to make sure that I get them a friend. So even if I get a 2-week-old foster kitten who's alone, I will tell the shelter, I'm looking for another 2-week-old, and I'm going to quarantine them for 2 weeks so that when they're 4 weeks old, they can be friends with each other. So I think important things are making sure that kitten has feline companionship. If it's not a mom, then another kitten who's the same, around the same age, meeting all of their important needs. So like making sure they're clean is a big one. A lot of foster parents, they feed and they, help them go to the bathroom, but they don't keep them clean. Mom cats keep them very clean. If they're not clean, they don't feel safe. And think about, early childhood experience has a lot of impact on, of course, how we are as adults. And I think the same applies for cats. So make them feel safe, make them feel clean. If they're cold, make them feel warm, all of those things, and make sure they have feline companionship, I think is very important.
Absolutely. Jackson, I
Yeah,
you generally don't deal with bottle feeding kittens, but you do have made a show 11 seasons out of dealing with behavioral problems. So is there anything that you could add to that?
I don't necessarily, in a lot of ways, I don't think it's necessarily behavioral problems. And I couldn't agree more with Hannah about the need. I mean, it's more about singleton bottle babies than it is about bottle babies in general, that having stand-ins for their siblings, having other cats around to model behavior, especially during this really crucial moment in their life. There's this phase, the critical learning phase, that's approximately 2 to 9 weeks old. These guys learn a ton in that really packed in moment. And if they don't have cats to model their behavior after, it's not that it's necessarily going to be problematic. It's just that it creates more hurdles for them as they get past that phase. The other thing that I think that we have to be really hyper aware of, I would say even more so than kittens who weren't raised bottle babies, is just to remember not to play with your hands, not to encourage things like blanket wrestling and things like that, because kittens need to remember, they need to know how to retract claws, inhibit bites, and things like that. And if we are encouraging them to do that in a very unwitting way, then it's going to continue. They're going to get older. They're going to bite harder. They're going to claw harder, and you're going to get mad. And it was kind of on you in the first place. But I think by and large, and Hannah, I think you would probably say that, like and Chris, you've been around plenty of them, that it's not problems for the most part, it's tics. Like I see things in cats that were raised bottle babies, and like I said, especially singletons, where their behavior is sometimes more geared towards humans than it is towards cats. They're seeking us even more than they would other cats. Or I can tell a bottle baby. They could be 9 years old, and I could still there's things they do, there's ticks that they will have that just say you were raised around more humans than cats, you know.
So I can add to that a little bit. I can tell you, I've raised hundreds of bottle babies, and the feedback from my adopters is, how are these cats so affectionate? They are just so very affectionate towards humans. An observation I've made is that when I have bottle raised kittens versus mom raised kittens, the bottle raised kittens purr a lot more readily for me than the mama raised ones. I think because they see humans as more maternal. But there is some research that Michael Delgado has done about, differences in attachments with bottle babies versus mom-raised kittens. And a finding in that was that vocalizations were different when a kitten is left alone. If they have a mom, they're a little more secure. They don't meow as much. If they don't have a mom, they are more vocal. They're more like attention seeking, like, where is somebody? So I think that there's definitely differences, but I think that we can mitigate a lot of those. And I very much agree with you. One important thing is, don't teach them that you are a cat. Teach them that they can play with toys, they can play with their other feline friends, but they're not supposed to play with your feet and hands. Absolutely.
That definitely plays right into the next question that I have. It's a little long. I'm going to direct it first to Jackson. I see a lot of "why does my cat do X" questions that are answered with, "that's a common thing among orphan cats or kittens who were separated from their litters at a young age." I think in large part to Hannah's advocacy and education, we're getting better at saving orphan kittens and reducing neonatal euthanasia rates across the country. But I wonder if this is leading to a rise in orphan singleton behavior issues. Jackson, do you see that in your work?
And I guess that sort of ties in to what we were talking about before. I mean, I think, yeah, I mean, obviously, if you're saving more neonatal kittens, then you're going to see, behaviors, I guess, that maybe you didn't see a generation ago or something. But I don't necessarily think that that's a hurdle, nor do I think it's problematic. I mean, there's a lot of folks who get, what's the word, prickly, because their cats do or they don't cover, like when they go into the litter box, and that's not necessarily something that just happens because you were a bottle baby or a singleton or anything like that. I think really the advice that we've been giving in different ways holds true for this one, which is, give them experiences, remind them what is appropriate with humans and how to be a cat through other cats. And there's always catching up. I don't think that there's necessarily there's nothing bad about saving kittens. Let's just put it that way.
No. And, to add a little thought on the end of that, as a movement, we are getting better at saving cats. And that means we're getting better at saving all kinds of cats, whether that's neonatal kittens, whether that's cats who are FIV or leukemia positive, whether that's cats with diabetes, whether that's cats with mobility challenges. All of these cats are worthy of protection and being saved. And I think to see that as a problem is not the right lens to look through. We want to see this as an opportunity to save many different kinds of cats. And the better we get at saving cats, the more we have to become educated about the various types of populations there are. This is why I love Cat Camp, because there's something for everyone. Everybody can find their piece, educate themselves about how to do it really well, and save so many different kinds of cats' lives.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've seen a real nice change in senior adoptions. I think that's been a really great change because, I mean, don't forget, back in the day that when I started in the shelters, seniors wouldn't last, because they were, number one, our shelter culture at that point was very cage oriented, and seniors would go downhill very fast. So now we're marketing them with a better dexterity, and folks are realizing how great it is to have seniors, that they're great company in certain households, and that's been a huge change and a big bonus. Because I personally saw so many lives that didn't have to end, even though they were older. But to know now that they can go to homes and have it might be cliche to say a second chance, but honestly, to be able to live out your life, knowing love and a stable home is pretty remarkable.
There's a second part to that question, which is, what can those of us who foster orphan kittens do to prevent these behaviors from developing? The TNR and CASA method to keep it from happening, of course, and lots of play with toy and not hands when it does happen. But do y'all have any other tips or recommendations? I'm going to shoot this one over to Jackson first.
Like I said, I think we've been hitting on this pretty hard. I think, from my point of view, bringing out what I call the raw cat early in life is so beneficial. Teaching, and again, this is the flip side of don't play with your hands. Bring out interactive toys and bring them out really soon, and just let little ones know, just remind them, this is what I'm here for. This is what I do. This is what thousands of years of this sort of evolutionary straight line has brought me to this moment. And the more confident they are at that age, the more confident they're going to be as adults. And knowing how crucial play is to their lives on a daily basis, I think is one thing that will lead you to not have to resolve issues going forward, because confidence to me is everything, and in cats. And so besides play, it's just this sense of ownership of territory, and that comes with having a catified home. And so the more you teach them to explore safely and play safely and discover that raw cat, everything usually turns out for the better.
I agree. Hannah, do you have any other tips or recommendations?
Your kitten needs another kitten. That's all I'm going to say. Kittens
That's
are supposed
right.
to be in pairs. Get your kitten another kitten. And I'm not just trying to upsell you here. This is for your own good.
Yep.
Get your kitten another kitten.
Yeah, it's like we should have like a little overcoat. Like, what do I got to do to get you into this kitten?
Right.
Got a kitten? I got exactly what you need. Another kitten.
Honestly, I'm boneheaded for missing that one. But again, two is so much better than one. I mean,
Yeah.
I so much better, so many better. Anyway, both. It's a great thing to raise them together. And the thing is funny because people always think that we're trying to upsell, but honestly, you think it's going to be double the work.
I am trying to upsell you, but also
Well,
it's
yeah. Yeah, but I mean, it is, people think it's going to be double the work, and it's just not, especially when it comes to that socializing and teaching one another. And that moment, right, when you're a kitten and you go up to your brother or your friend brother, and you go up and like you bite them really hard on the ear, and they're like, boom, and he's like, oh, okay, all right, well, I won't do that again.
They teach each other.
That kind of learning.
Oh.
Yeah.
And that's what we say at our shelter all the time. We always say one cat is this much effort and two cats is this much effort. It's a little bit more scooping and a little bit more food, and they just take care of each other.
Yep.
So, the next question I have here, I want to shoot to Hannah first, which is, my best friend and I adopted kittens from the same litter. We have cats at home, don't worry. We would like to have kitten play dates, and would that be beneficial to them?
Well, I think that, just because two kittens are related, if you separate them, they may not, if it's a year from now, they may see each other and be a little bit like, oh, who are you? I don't know who you are. I think if you're gonna have kittens visiting each other, I would say do it soon and frequently so that they have some memory of each other. But I also don't think cats are not always the biggest fans of like moving around between spaces. Jackson might have a perspective here though, so I'm interested in hearing his answer.
Well, I know it's funny because at that point, if you back to the upsell, I mean, if you're gonna shuttle them around and just either put them together or they should each have friends at home. Although, and it's funny because I can hear the chat going in my brain right now where someone's like, no, my cats love play dates. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's totally cool. In my experience, as is Hannah's experience, the idea of bringing cats to a different territory, and remember, they're so connected to that territory, that going into a new one and expecting them to immediately sort of roll around like dogs, not really, I don't know. I don't think it's worth the effort really. And like Hannah said, the sort of familial bond really only goes so far in life. Once they've been separated, they've been separated. So again, that's my experience.
Yeah. So Jackson, I just want to ask you a lone question, and then I'm going to kind of flip between you two. How much conflict between cats is too much? Is some light slapping to be expected?
I don't know what it is about that question. Some light slapping. Okay. So yeah. So you really need to know what play looks like and what an argument looks like. And I know that I'm totally oversimplifying, but unless there's fur coming out in claws, skin broken, somebody peeing or pooping in the spot because it was really not cool, somebody hiding afterwards, it's usually play or rough play a little bit. But when we're talking about a little like, hey, you got too close, you're in my bubble, slap, slap, you want to check to see, are claws retracted? Is it something where it's just, what I'm doing right now is I've got some tools here. This is the first step. It's the slap with claws in. Then if you keep coming at me and you keep disrespecting my bubble here, then the claws are going to come out, then the teeth are going to come out. It's 1, 2, 3 usually. There's also vocal cues that are happening at that point. There's body cues happening at the same time. You as the human in this, you got to use your learn that body language, learn those sounds, learn about all cats, filter it down into your cats. And the answer is going to be different for pretty much everybody with multiple cats in their homes, but look for those big signs, and hiding is one of them. If someone is getting, hit a lot or picked on a lot, they're going to start taking themselves out of the rotation a little bit, and you're going to be looking for them and that kind of thing. So, and litter box issues, all kinds of stuff.
All right. So Hannah, as a rescuer, how do you deal with people who surrender their cats or don't spay and neuter or who don't understand TNR?
Yeah. Well, when you get involved in rescue, you think you're going to just be working with animals, but actually you do deal with a lot of people. And so I think the most important thing to remember is to approach every situation with kindness, to really assume the best about people, and remember that you didn't always know what you know. So you're in a position where you can really educate, but you can't educate if you start by pointing your finger at somebody. Nobody learns like this. So I think it's very important that you meet people where they are. Now, sometimes that's frustrating, right? Like sometimes you're in a neighborhood and somebody's feeding a bunch of cats and they refuse to spay and neuter the cats. They don't want your help doing trapping. That's something I deal with a lot. And what I try to do is find common ground with them. So, this term like a compliment sandwich, you got to give people like a compliment sandwich. You're going to give them the difficult stuff in the middle, but I start with some common ground and some kind of way of being kind and connecting to the person. So like if I see somebody feeding cats in a neighborhood and they're not sterilized, I might say to them, I think it's so wonderfully compassionate that you're feeding cats and you care enough to try to help these cats. If it's somebody reaching out to me to return a kitten and I'm frustrated by that, I might say to them, I think it's so wonderful that you had the compassion in your heart to reach out to me about this. Give them that first. Then meet them where they are. Don't meet them where you are, because where you are is so many steps ahead of, you know about rescue, about trap, neuter, return, have made a lifelong commitment to your cat and you can't imagine ever giving them up. But some people are in a different place than you. So I think meeting people, like asking questions instead of just like pointing at somebody, ask them questions. What's going on for you? Try to understand it, empathize with it, and know that like every situation is not going to be the same. Sometimes somebody reaching out to surrender a cat to you honestly is an important thing for them to do because of something that's going on in their life. And all I can say is I feel grateful that I'm not in that situation, and I try to empathize with the person and be a resource. So educate, be a resource, be kind. Even if you want to just scream, that's what group texts with your friends are for. Text your friends and be like, oh my God, I can't believe this. And then take a deep breath and be kind. That's what I would say.
Perfect. Jackson, I know it's a very general question, but I'm interested to see which direction you take this, which is what's one cat fact you think all kitty parents should know?
I think the most important, and I know this sounds totally oversimplified, but it's one fact. And I guess the fact is that your cat's not a dog. I think that we're all guilty to some degree or another at certain points in our cat lives of looking at cats through dog-colored glasses. And that means that we are thinking that a good cat means that cat thinks that the cat should want to be with you more. And if they don't, they're aloof and antisocial. They should want to participate in family sort of gather. They should listen to you more. They should be more obedient. All of these things, even down to the way that cats show love versus dogs, you know, which is that as a cat, I love in the moment. I'm a very present. It's great to be with you. I'm going to sit on your chest. I love you. Gotta go, you know, and we should appreciate that for being a great thing because that's cat. Whereas dog is like, I need to be with you and the sun and the moon and you, and that's because we've made them that way over thousands of years. And cats, we didn't. And I think it you know, as you know, as Hannah was just saying about people, it's important with cats is to meet them where they are. They are cats, and in my book, they're barely domesticated. And after all this time, and they're doing us big favors in terms of the small things that we take for granted, like going in a litter box, like being okay in a home with other beings, dogs, cats, children, us. It's taken them a long time to get there. But the more folks learn about cats, and realize that we expect things from them, that it's another species, you know, I think we would be more open to a richer relationship with them.
Great. Actually, let me turn this into one for Hannah. What's one kitten fact you think all new kitten parents should know?
Aside from that they need two of them?
Yes.
Well, I think one thing that a lot of people don't think about is that if you are in a situation where you have indoor only cats or kittens who you're raising indoors, they only have the environment that you give them. They only have the life that you provide. Think of it like, you know, their own Truman Show or something, right? Like you set the stage of whether they can see the sun because you opened the curtain, or they never see the sun because you kept the curtains closed. They're sitting there all day and they don't have the opportunity to, you know, stumble upon a you know, squirrel in the yard and be curious about that. They don't have the chance to have a leaf blow by them and go, ooh, like that was an enticing thing. And so these indoor cats, obviously I have indoor cats, like it's a lot of us do, and that's a great way to keep our cats safe. But you know, when we're raising kittens or when we're caring for cats of our own, I think it's really important to always be mindful, you know, what's something new that I can show my cat today, even if it is something as simple as bringing leaves inside to show them, right? Or like giving them, instead of throwing out the cardboard box with your delivery items in it, give it to them. They're like, ooh, something new showed up. This is exciting, you know? I think with kittens, harness train your kittens. Every single adopter that I have gets a whole book, an Adventure Cats book that teaches you how to do a lot of really exciting enrichment, clicker training, harness training. And my favorite adopters are adopters who start their kittens young, so that they can have those safe outdoor opportunities.
Perfect. Okay, so both of you are very public figures, and people know you, what you're from. and Hannah, you're very public with the amount of kittens that you take in, that you foster. People fall in love with them. They follow them even after they've been adopted out. So this question's for you specifically, which is which kitten or kittens have been the hardest to say goodbye to?
Oh gosh. Well, if you ask me like, oh, are you going to be sad to say goodbye? The thing I always say is like, goodbye is the goal. I'm so happy when they get adopted. And that is true. But what I will say is I get very attached to certain types of kittens. So
what does it take for a kitten to break through and be one of your favorites?
I really like working with mobility challenged kittens a lot. So I recently had a kitten named James who had no hind legs. And I like cried thinking about him leaving. Also because he was in my bedroom. So like when they're in my bedroom, it's like they're just part of your every moment. Like I was sleeping with him and he had all these ramps and steps in the room. But that was hard because that was like, I don't know, over a month ago, and I still wake up sometimes and I'm like, where's James? Where's James? I love that kitten. But I am very glad I get to follow him on social media and I talk to his adopter all the time. And he just has the best life. I mean, he got such a great home and he has an opportunity in that home that he wouldn't have here. You know, he has 2 cats and a dog who all love him. He has a whole family of people who just dote on him all day. And I have a lot going on. I have a lot of like animals to tend to. So I'm happy for him. You know, it was hard, but it was like the correct thing to do. And I'm very happy for him. But I think James, definitely, he's the one from this year, he's the one I still think about every day. I've had a lot.
Fluctuate by year.
From this year, it's James, definitely, because James, I just loved him. He went through so much. He really went through a lot. So I think if they go through a lot with me and they're in my bedroom, forget it. I love them.
Have a little award thing like favorite kitten of 2016, 2017, little plastic ball.
It's not a competition. All kittens,
unless it comes to James,
beautiful, but
then he wins.
This guy's pretty spectacular too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Jackson, on My Cat from Hell, which cat was the hardest to work with? You have one that sticks out.
The one that sticks out for me, and it's only also because, there's a lot of becauses, but I was called up to work with this cat named Lux, who was the 911 cat up in Portland. And when I say the 911 cat, that was because it was like, I don't know if it was like Inside Edition or something like that, where it broke originally, where there was this audio footage. I can only laugh about it because I was there.
Commercial for that.
Did you ever hear it? Did you the one where it's like it's a guy and his wife and his baby, and the dog. They're all locked in the bathroom.
Yeah, I was going to say they were trapped in a room or something like that. And
they were locked in the bathroom while you hear the cat in the background going thump, thump on the bathroom door. They were legitimately scared to death. Anyway, they were going to surrender him, and it wasn't going to look good for it. So we went up, and it was one of those things. It was a very last second thing. We had actually just wrapped the season. We were done. It was a 6-month shoot. We were done. And the next day this happened. And the next day I was up there. And the thing about Lux is that he was neurologically damaged in a way that I know it wasn't something he was born with. And I always thought that we were getting over a hump. You know, I got him in this foster home. I got him out of that home, which I think was the first stop, then into a foster home with amazing foster parents who fell in love with him. And then I get the call that he sent one of them to the hospital. Now I got to go back to Portland and we're going to work with him again. And it kept happening. And it was a real lesson in humility for me, because Lux was who Lux is. And he wasn't going to fit in the box that I wanted to put him in. Success meant you were going to live in a home with humans, be happy, Lux, be happy, you know, and that's not how it went. And I was really fortunate to be able to get him into a wonderful sanctuary where he lived really well for a number of years, and then got adopted by one of his caretakers at the sanctuary. So now is in a home with somebody who understands him. But he was my biggest teacher for sure. That was a long answer, sorry.
Wow, no, it was great. That was great. I was actually curious about that.
Really interesting.
So actually this will pertain to both of you because I believe both of you are vegan. Hannah, do you have any tips for new vegans like me?
Well, congrats on your compassionate decision. I love that. I've been vegan so long that it's like it's like, this is just the air that I breathe. So it's like, how do you explain breathing air? But I'll try to answer. I think the first tip I would give for transitioning to a vegan lifestyle is don't change that much about what you already do. If you already love eating something, just learn. If if you like to eat at home and you make tacos every Tuesday, don't say, oh, I can't have tacos now. Learn how to do it vegan. Like, look up recipes, learn how to do what you already do and do it vegan. There's nothing that you can't, I mean, in 2020, there's nothing you can't make vegan. Now for restaurants and stuff like that, the main piece of advice I would give is don't keep doing what you're doing. Don't just go to the restaurant that you always go to every Monday and like look at the menu and go, oh, all they have is salad. Because like, let's be honest, Jackson and I, we don't want to eat salad all the time. How often do you eat a salad? I don't eat a lot of salad. I should probably.
You're asking me?
I probably should. But I'm a junk food vegan myself. So, I would say instead of like going to the restaurant and then being that person who's like, oh, I can eat some sides, that restaurant's not for you. Look up the cool spots that have good vegan options in your community. And it might not be that it's an all vegan restaurant. Maybe you live in a community that doesn't have an all vegan restaurant. There are certain things that are in every community that you can access. A lot of cuisines that you maybe have never tried before. Go to a Thai restaurant, go to a Vietnamese restaurant. Indian restaurants always have great vegan options. My favorite kind of food is Ethiopian food. I don't know if I ever would have branched out to eating Ethiopian food if I wasn't vegan. And then I found like, wow, this is actually the best thing ever. So don't be afraid with restaurants to try new things. There are great options out there, and don't let me catch you just eating salads at Denny's. That's horrible. You're better than that,
dinner?
Right? You're better than that.
Jackson, do you have any tips for anybody? Maybe in a different direction with like dealing with, friends or family who don't understand your decisions or something like that,
Yeah, I mean, and I think I have a different perspective because I've been vegan now for I think 7 years, and it was a slow progression for me because food choices are something that emotionally are just very evocative. You know what I mean? If suddenly someone is the most trouble I think I've ever experienced with my family, because I'm a very understanding family, wonderful guys. The time that I came home with my wife for Thanksgiving, the first time I brought her home for Thanksgiving to my family, and we realized that they were not going to cater to us. They were not happy with us. And we were going to have to go out and get some dinner after Thanksgiving dinner. You realize that there's going to be a little friction sometimes. But I think that if as long as we just sort of demilitarize the issue when it comes to meal on meal, I think that really helps. The other thing is, and I gotta agree with Hannah, because when we made that trip, that was 2016. Is that what you said it was? Was it 16 that we made that trip?
Yeah.
So we could not eat. There was no place to go except the aforementioned Denny's nastiness. But a year later, there were choices all along the way. Like there's chain restaurants now that have vegan choices. I mean, of course, you do have to be a little careful about what they're making their food in and et cetera. They can call it vegan, but not prepared vegan. But what I'm saying is, from someone who you know, I'm not happy with like, if salad is my only choice, I want to be able to make choices. Right now, the choices are aplenty. And you guys, you have to realize that the things that you go, ugh, I would never eat that, try it once, man. And,
Mhm.
you know, and the choices that are available from, you know, whether it's whoever's trying to Beyond Burger at this point, or Impossible, or the cream cheeses that are available and the cheeses. And I mean, every week it seems there's a new something out there that you can replace what you're currently eating, and it feels better to make a compassionate choice, you know, and that I can tell you for sure.
Yeah.
I have a
I
funny anecdote on, oh, go ahead.
Oh, no. I was going to say, it's just interesting because you speak about branching out and trying new things, and and you'd be surprised. And I just remember the time when we were in Denver, and Hannah, me, and we went out to dinner, and I got those grilled. It was like grilled carrots, and I ate it, and I was like, "This is the greatest
Oh yeah.
I've ever had." I'm like, "This is one of the best things I've ever eaten." I was like, "It's just a grilled carrot," but the way that they did it, I was like, "This is incredible." And remember, I don't know if you were there when we went. We went. Yeah, the next
No, I
day.
remember.
I was like, "Well, we're going back," and I was like, "Yeah, I'm here for the carrots," and they're like, "We're out of carrots," and I'm like, "No, that's why we're here."
That was really, really something. I just wanted to add, I'm like so obsessed with vegan cheeses, like obsessed. And at the beginning of the pandemic, when everybody was like, like can't get toilet paper, can't get like any of the things we need, I was like, what if there's a vegan cheese shortage? So I was like pricing out bulk vegan cheeses, and Andrew kept saying, stop doing your cheese math over there, because I was like calculator crunching numbers, like, okay, like what's the best like bang for my buck versus like how high is the quality of the vegan cheese. And I ended up with these like huge vegan cheese logs that lasted me many months, and I eat a lot of vegan cheese. But we just joke about cheese math all the time now. He's like,
Cheese
you and your
math.
cheese math.
Yeah, man. And I'll tell you, I'm not shy about shouting out brands, and like, because I really am snobby about like, it's gotta actually, but I'll never forget, we were doing, we did this little filming thing where we went and we tried to like knock out like all the best vegan Philly cheesesteaks in Philadelphia. And every single one of them had like certain things in common. And it was about replicating the cheese whiz from that goes on the Philly cheesesteak sandwiches, and they all picked different cheeses, and they were all freaking amazing. And I'm telling you guys that whatever it is that you want in every city, like when you guys said Denver, I was like, oh, there's great vegan in Denver. Great, there's great restaurants.
I'm hungry now, you guys.
Me too, man. I'm starving. But you know, in every city, you guys, and I'm talking worldwide. Hannah and I have both been around the world. There's great vegan in every city I've been in, and that's happening now. And just try it. You got just one meal. You got nothing to lose, man. You got nothing to lose.
All right, so we got time for one quick last question, which is not a quick answer, I know. And then we're gonna go into Adam Myatt's Catman Bingo. But it's a question that I was actually curious about. I'm gonna shoot this one over to Hannah first, which is, what were you like in high school and what has changed? You got 1 minute.
Oh.
Okay. What was I like in high school and what has changed? Honestly, sometimes I feel like I've been the same person since I was like 14, 15 years old. When I was 15 was right when I became vegan at 15. I became dedicated to animals at 15. And I think I really like found my voice around that age. And back then I was a little bit more, well, what's changed? Definitely. I was much more aggressive as a teenager. I was like, everybody should believe what I believe. And if you don't believe it, then something's wrong with you. And I think now I mean, I've softened so much over the years. I'm not the like kind of aggressive advocate that I used to be. I think I'm now somebody who really values just like leading by example, doing what I do, hoping that maybe somebody, you know, is into it and wants to be part of my community with me. But yeah, I mean, I had pink hair I had pink eyebrows. I used to draw my eyebrows on pink. There's a little fun fact.
It was real, like, pencil thin.
Yeah, like pink eyebrows, pink
You
and
too?
black hair.
Same.
I had like a bunch of piercings. I didn't look very approachable, I have to say. And I wasn't very approachable because I was, and you know, my heart was in a good place. I was very, very tender at the core about animal issues, and I still am. But I think I had a thick, hard shell around me because I was just so angry about what was happening to animals. And I think now I let myself be tender more, you know, like I let myself just be vulnerable and not have to be like so hardcore aggressive about things. Just, you know, like show people that I am a compassionate person, and it's cool to be compassionate. You don't have to be angry about it.
It's all those baths.
It's all the baths. It's the bath bombs. It's like the
I know.
salts. So many
Jackson.
soaks, and after a while, you're not so hard on the outside anymore.
I just,
Jackson,
I took baths back then. I take baths now. That's it. Period.
Jackson, what were you like in high school, and what's changed?
I think the biggest thing that's changed, and look, from the time I was a kid, I knew, just as Hannah was saying that she knew it was all about animals. For me, it was about music. It was about writing. It was just about learning that craft. And I always knew that was where I was that was it for me. And I think life is such an amazing teacher in that way, because I mean, it's not like I'm different. It's just that it comes out in a different way now. I mean, I think that my approach to animals is much the same as it was through art. It's just that the art itself was just very, I guess, self-serving in a way. And I think in terms of creativity, it all gets through a higher authority at this point. And I think that's really it. I mean, yeah, granted, I don't know anybody who wasn't a little angry, but you know, I was committed to not. And it's funny, I think this is where we sort of crisscross, is that I didn't want to look like any other human being, you know? So I was crazy in a lot of the choices that I made, and well, still kind of. Anyhow, that's the same a little bit, maybe a little more socially correct, but I think that that's the biggest change in me, is that at some point my relationship to animals just took over everything else, and I'm glad it did.
Awesome. Well, hey, this is the end. We only went over a tiny bit. Look at that. Not bad.